In this video, I'm going to cover some lore about the Hollows and theorize about their nature and role within New Eridu. It's going to be a bit more abstract as this topic is vast and could branch off into countless areas. So, without further ado, let's dive into the Hollow. What are Hollows? No, not those, at least not yet, but we'll get there. I'm talking about these. Tree hollows are holes or cavities that form in parts of a tree, usually after decaying. They're vacuums in what was once organic matter, and go on to become crucial parts of some ecosystems. They give small animals a place to nest, breed, shelter, and feed. And now, what are ZZZ's hollows? They are ever-expanding spherical realms that appear out of thin air as manifestations of calamity. Overflowing with lethal ether, they devour and corrupt everything unlucky enough to find itself within them. They also have the power to warp reality itself, a power that naturally originates from the ether. We don't know exactly why they're called hollows, but even in Chinese, it shares the same meaning as that of tree hollows. Additionally, there's literally a show called The Hollow, which I believe may have inspired ZZZ. Hell, they even reference it in the game with the film Unlimited Players, but more on that later. So, what do huge, interdimensional, life-consuming void realms have to do with small cavities in trees? Well, in the Honkai-verse games, there is something called the imaginary tree. It describes the pinnacle of all existence, of all things real, despite being called imaginary. The Honkai universe can be boiled down to just this tree and something called the sea. According to the evil, yet highly knowledgeable, Auto-Apocalypse, the tree emerged from an endless sea of unfathomable depths and boundaries. The tree and the sea are alone in the universe. Thus began their never-ending rivalry. The sea swells while the tree extends its roots. One seeks to flood, the other seeks to absorb. This is the Sea of Quanta, essentially the quantum realm of the Honkai-verse. This is also mentioned in ZZZ by another name, the Sea of Ether. After all, ether is based on the ether. No, not this guy. But a real scientific concept that describes an all-permeating yet invisible field in which all things exist. For the purposes of Honkai-verse theories, ether can be equated to antimatter. Within the framework of the tree and the sea, the ether, will clash against growing branches and parts of the tree, causing these areas to wither and fall into the sea. This process is the Honkai, and the growing tree branches are civilizations. The more advanced a civilization becomes, the more susceptible it becomes to the Honkai. The sooner it will fall into the sea. I noticed that, in real life, tree hollows will warp the surrounding parts of the tree, forming what strongly resembles a black hole. This is also exactly what hollows look like in ZZZ. So, if the Sea of Ether were to corrupt the tree, it would form a hollow. I'll cut to the chase here. There is endless evidence that New Eridu is stuck in some kind of cyclical loop, where the world is destroyed by the hollows and is reset in a way. Just take this cutscene from the game's prologue. It's like they're rewinding a videotape. And why would they, you ask? To stop the disaster. To stop the world from being destroyed by the Hollow. Yet each time they try to go back to prevent the disaster, they end up being the ones to cause it. Such is the cycle. And reality really is like a videotape in New Eridu. Phaethon can rewind death inside hollows, Yadhari can restore the past, and we can now also rewind past phases of etheric structures. all of this is done by the manipulation of ether, which, as previously stated, can warp reality. Phaethon, due to whatever power is inside them, has perhaps the strongest ability to manipulate ether out of anybody. So they'll likely always end up being the ones to try and stop the disaster, to end the cycle of endless calamity. Their power can change the course of fate, as we saw when they saved Vivian from death. And if they're all in an endless calamity, it's like the entire world, like life itself in New Eridu, is a hollow, and Phaethon is trying to guide people through it. They took up the role of proxies in order to collect enough hollow observation data and experience to navigate through Hollow Zero, to reach the center of it and find out the truth behind the fall of the old capital. After all, hollow observation data can be put into the maze-solving algorithm, which is how people calculate routes out of the chaotic, labyrinthian hollows. Similarly, collecting videotapes is Phaethon's destiny. They collect and store actual videotapes of their memories, presumably recorded through their smart lenses and uploaded via Fairy in the HDD. To keep the memories from becoming corrupted, they store them on physical tapes in an archive. Ether, after all, corrupts digital technology much faster than analog tech. I believe that the memories they collect this way, the videotapes, are the hollow observation data of the metaphorical hollow called life. So reality truly is like a tape that they keep rewinding, specifically within hollows. Actual videotapes use magnetic tape to record footage. When you try to rewind them to re-record the footage, they're prone to a type of distortion called hysteresis. Just like the more you try to recall a memory, the more distorted it becomes. To record new footage, to change the course of the tape, you need strong input. The more power you put into it, the more distortion it can experience. The more likely the outcome can change. And Phaethon has this power. Whenever there is insufficient power, each rewind attempt results in a net power loss, with a diminishing chance to successfully re-record different footage. This is what, for example, Vivian does when she attempts to change the future she sees. Every single time she fails to change it. But Phaethon can, because they have enough power to do so. See, the goal is to rewind and replay until you can record a new ending that doesn't end in disaster, and to stop the endless cycle where the outcome is always destruction. In case that was too metaphorical to be convincing, let me expand upon and present clear examples of what I'm talking about in the game. Again, with the prologue cutscene. It literally shows the world being destroyed by a hollow and Phaethon hitting rewind, presumably resetting the world. The song that debuted with the game itself, and that played in Chapter 4's biggest cutscene, is called Come Alive in English. In Chinese, however, it's called Fumie Chongsheng, which basically means destruction and rebirth. When Lycon fights Hugo for the first time, if he dies during the battle, a mechanic plays that doesn't show up at any other point of the game. If I recall, it says rewind, and the screen actually rewinds to the moment before he took the fatal blow, restoring his health to full. When the Wandering Hunter starts pursuing us in the town, if we get hit, we die. But we keep replaying the scenario from the beginning until we eventually escape. There's a film in ZZZ called Last Flight, which parallels Vivian foreseeing Phaethon's fall. A stunt pilot tries to pull off a risky move to impress his fiancée, but crashes and falls. The fiancée tries to go back in time to that day's morning over and over, each attempt failing and diminishing her chances at preventing the tragedy. She does, however, eventually succeed. We can literally rewind objects in a hollow now. Hidehari can similarly reshape ether and the matter inside hollows to form past scenes. Outside Swabian Temple is a sculpture called Cyclical Destiny, depicting a vehicle stretched out into an infinite loop. The description of the Cretan Hollow tells of beasts caged in an internal struggle as the gods abandon them, similar to this line said by Haromas's master.
If the gods have abandoned this world, trapping us in endless calamity, then we must reclaim the power of the gods with our mortal bodies, regardless of the cost or sacrifice. But this is wrong.
In the most lore-significant exploration commission, The Prophecy, there's a piece of dialogue. Break the cycle. Hordes of ethereals lurk near the exit not far ahead, like guards in a never-ending maze protecting the final gate. There's also some on-screen text in it that says, yes, the ending must be faced once more. The fated prophecy has been sealed. The end must be witnessed again. The commission itself is titled The Tower Reversed, which, as a tarot card, represents resistance to inevitable destruction. Upright, the tower shows people falling, like Phaethon's fall in Greek mythology. Now, about that show I mentioned before, The Hollow. It has many similarities to ZZZ, and likely served as one of its inspirations, especially regarding the term hollow. In the show, 3 people wake up in a mysterious, magical world with no memories and no idea what's going on. Eventually, they learn that it's a virtual game, and they have no choice but to beat it. It's revealed that, in real life, they volunteered to play the game, which is called The Hollow, and are asleep inside virtual reality. The company who makes this game is trying to collect data on its players, including their memories, dreams, and fears. They're attempting to create an exact replica of the real world in a new game, which others can enter, called Hollow Life. This is the premise behind Season 2. As they neared the end of the game in Season 1, it forced them to progress and beat it. The world began to glitch around them and turn into meaningless data, engulfing their surroundings, exactly like the expansion of a hollow in ZZZ. But this wasn't a mistake or a glitch. It was a deliberate mechanic added to the game to get them to figure their way out of the simulation. They eventually beat the game and woke up, but their virtual avatars, the copies of them who played the game, continued to exist within that world. This created an ethical dilemma, as they were stuck there as their own people. One player revealed that she wore a special smart lens before playing that would allow her to keep her memories of having played the game before, so she could cheat and win it.
I'm pretty sure the tech in my lens somehow caused the glitch.
Possible. It could have created some kind of infinite loop.
So, that's why it's my fault we're all stuck in digital limbo.
This clearly parallels Phaethon and their smart lenses, which are the key to their powers, and that through which they experience simulated hollows. If Phaethon is truly the one who keeps on resetting everything, it could be due to some special power in their lenses. So, to recap, in The Hollow, there are 2 games/simulations, The Hollow and Hollow Life. The former is a way to collect data to create the latter, which is like a game version of real life. This is similar to the plot of ZZZ's special episode Virtual Revenge, where they start off in a VR game, then are tricked into thinking they've woken up in the real world. But it's merely a simulated version of it, which Yanaki says is just like being inside a hollow, due to a hacker trying to get Miyabi's data to recreate her physical form in VR. By the way, the drowned ideals in the town are said to be virtual copies of people they're replacing, so we literally see this happen. It's like New Eridu is actually one big hollow called Life, like the game Hollow Life, and Phaethon are its protagonists. But if it's all a hollow game and simulation, how does that even make sense? Isn't this getting a little bit too meta? I've thought for some time that the true nature of reality is actually the hollow, not the other way around. But it wasn't until I watched The Hollow and The Matrix that I fully understood how this can make sense. In both Hololive and the actual Matrix, life, or reality, is the simulation. In the original game called The Hollow, everything turns into chaotic data, spreading like a ZZZ hollow. But again, this is deliberate, and the protagonists, the ones playing the game, have special powers that allow them to manipulate reality. It's the way that the spread of calamitous data is intentional, like the black tide being coded into Amphorius' simulation in Honkai Star Rail. It's all to get people to figure out how to beat the game even amidst these obstacles. It makes sense then that New Eridu might actually be a simulation. Someone is trying to figure out how humanity can overcome the Hollows. They're waiting until Phaethon succeeds, until they actually win the game. Whenever they lose, it's game over, and the save file is deleted, and the game is reset. If Eridu was engulfed in a hollow, why not try to have the world's best proxies find a way out of it? And hollows are genuinely like simulated worlds. The evidence for this is endless. For one thing, it was confirmed that this is the case with Papago Hollow, where the surroundings change based on the 5 senses of the people who enter it, which synchronize with the ether. When I saw this, I was just like, ha! Freaking finally! That's what I've been saying! Oh my god. And regarding Papago Hollow specifically, the characters wonder when they actually entered the simulation, but the hollow itself is the simulation. It acts exactly like Yadhari's simulated dreamscape. But how is it the same exact process when entering this hollow and entering someone's literal dream? All it is a transfer of consciousness. This is how the HIA's VR system works as well. So, where are the people of New Eridu? Are they all nothing but drifting consciousnesses within one big simulation? Where they're tested by the supposed glitching that is the Hollows, all to see how humanity can escape them. All one giant VR game, played by Phaethon thanks to their smart lenses. Whew. That was a lot. Probably a bit too much of a mindfuck. Or perhaps it's not that big a deal, as Zenless Zone Zero is a literal game that we play as the main characters. Hell, even in Honkai Star Rail, it's canonical that it's all a game. Someone climbed to the top of the imaginary tree, yes, the one I mentioned before, and realized the truth about the universe, that all of it was just a game. Everything is just data. As of right now, it doesn't really matter whether New Eridu is a simulation. Until we learn more info or it becomes significant in the story, there's not much we can do with this information. But it can help us better understand the nature of things like hollows. This is all just a small collection of my thoughts as a lore enthusiast and avid theorist. I absolutely love thinking about these things, and I find the lore of Zenless insanely cool sometimes. So, what do you think? Do you agree that New Eridu is actually a simulation and one big hollow? Or do you have any other thoughts or evidence you'd like to share? Let me know down below. If you've enjoyed this video, drop a like, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day or week. Goodbye.